Hey everyone, welcome back to The Explainer. Today we are zeroing in on the 2026 Michigan U.S. Senate race. And look, this isn't just your run-of-the-mill election. We are talking about a monumental clash of two completely different visions for the future, not just for Michigan, but honestly for the whole country. We're going to bypass the spin and look directly at the official campaign platforms to see exactly what they're pitching to voters, so buckle up because it is a stark contrast. Okay, let's dive into this. $70 million. Just let that number sink in for a second. According to Dr. Abdul El-Sayed's campaign, that is the record-breaking amount of outside spending his campaign faced down and actually defeated in the Democratic primary. I wanted to start right here because this number instantly sets the stage. It shows you the incredibly high stakes, the intense national spotlight, and just the sheer volume of resources pouring into this race. So here is our roadmap for today. First, the Michigan Senate Showdown. Then we'll meet the candidates, followed by defining the problem. Next up, their competing economic visions. Then healthcare and society, and finally, we'll look at their closing pitch to voters. All right, Section 1, the Michigan Senate Showdown, a tale of two Michigans. Let's get into it.
Moving right along to Section 2, meet the candidates, the doctor versus the soldier.
You know, when you're applying for a job in the United States Senate, your resume is pretty much everything. Both of these guys are heavily leaning on their very unique professional backgrounds to prove they're the one equipped to handle Washington. Let's start with Dr. Abdul El-Sayed. He basically says he was never supposed to be a politician. But while studying medicine, he, quote, realized it was our broken politics that was making people sick. That's a really specific framing, right? He's positioning his jump from medicine into government as a mission to cure systemic issues. He's telling voters he looks at the economy and society like patients that need some urgent triage.
Now, flip the script entirely for Mike Rodgers. He leans into a deep, established background in defense and enforcement. He tells voters, quote, I know what it means to fight, taking down human traffickers and corrupt politicians. He's putting his time in the Army, his years as an FBI agent, and his leadership on the House Intelligence Committee hunting down terrorists right, front, and center. He is introducing himself as the seasoned protector, the fighter.
So we've got the doctor trying to cure a broken system. And we have the soldier who's ready to fight, which naturally leads us to ask the most crucial question of any campaign. Who exactly are they fighting? How do they diagnose the root cause of Michigan's struggles?
Section 3, defining the problem. Oligarchs versus radicals.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how they pinpoint the antagonist. Every campaign needs a villain, right? To build a movement, you've got to tell people who's standing in their way. Look at the precision of their aim here. El-Sayed actually names names: Elon Musk, Donald Trump, and their billionaire friends, calling out would-be oligarchs. He's taking direct aim at massive corporate wealth. Rodgers, on the other hand, he points the finger squarely at two-faced politicians who play moderate back home but then vote as radicals in Washington. So El-Sayed targets immense corporate wealth, Rodgers targets political hypocrisy and radical agendas.
Okay, so we understand their backgrounds, and we know exactly who they are blaming for the state's problems. So, how do they actually plan to fix the economy? What happens when we push past the campaign slogans and look at their actual domestic policies?
Section 4, competing economic visions. Wealth tax versus America first.
Both candidates are promising to put money back in your pocket, and they both clearly know the cost of living is a huge issue for voters right now. But their methods, literally worlds apart. Let's walk through this together. El-Sayed's strategy is actually called money in your pocket. How does he do it? Progressive wealth distribution, specifically taxing billionaires. Interestingly, he also goes hard on modern tech regulation, calling out AI and data centers as key priorities, right alongside affordable housing. Now look at Rodgers. His strategy is America first. It is a decidedly more traditional, immediate approach. He wants to bring manufacturing jobs back home and lower the everyday cost of things like gas and groceries. So you've got El-Sayed looking at systemic wealth redistribution and future tech, while Rodgers is locked in on domestic industrialization and immediate inflation relief.
Section 5, healthcare and society. System overhaul versus protection.
If you thought their economic plans were different, their views on how the government itself should function are an even wilder contrast. El-Sayed's platform is basically a blueprint for a massive systemic overhaul. He wants to pass Medicare for all and to break up big healthcare, but it goes way beyond just medicine. To make this happen, he wants to fundamentally change Washington's rulebook, abolishing the filibuster, reforming the Supreme Court, and totally banning corporate money in politics. He is arguing the system itself needs a complete rewrite to actually work.
Right, so keep that massive overhaul in mind as we look at Mike Rodgers' platform. Where El-Sayed wants to rebuild, Rodgers wants to protect and preserve. His platform focuses on protecting senior Social Security, protecting the existing Medicare system, and lowering prescription drug costs. He also leans heavily into social preservation. His big promise is to prioritize education, not indoctrination. Ultimately, he frames his whole mission around delivering on a mandate given by the American people alongside Donald Trump.
And this brilliantly illustrates how their social priorities are meant for completely different demographics. On his site, El-Sayed explicitly spotlights healthcare freedom for women and LGBTQ+ Americans, plus a strong focus on clean air and water. Rodgers completely bypasses those topics. Instead, his social message zeroes in on the classroom, promising to set kids up for success by fighting what he calls indoctrination. These aren't just minor policy tweaks, you guys. These are highly calculated appeals to totally different cultural anxieties in Michigan.
With such massive, frankly opposite goals, it takes a tremendous amount of resources to run these campaigns. So who are they asking to actually fund this fight? How do they frame their request for your hard-earned dollars?
Section 6. The pitch to voters. Grassroots versus the mandate.
You know, how a campaign asks for your support usually distills their whole vibe into its purest form. Just reading these slogans side by side is fascinating. El-Sayed goes all in on grassroots purity and financial struggle. He says he's 100% funded by people like you, not corporations. And his rallying cry is, it shouldn't be this hard just to get by. Rodgers, his pitch is pure strength and patriotism. He tells voters, Michigan deserves a fighter, promising, I'll always put America and Michigan first, proudly noting his endorsement from President Trump to fulfill a conservative mandate.
The core takeaway from today's explainer is really this. Looking ahead to Election Day 2026, Michigan voters aren't just choosing between slightly different nuances. They are getting a remarkably clear, undeniable contrast. We've got two candidates with completely different professional backgrounds who diagnose the state's problems in totally opposing ways and whose solutions literally could not be further apart. Which leaves us with one final thought. Systemic overhaul or America First protection? Which vision will Michigan choose? The stakes are incredibly high for sure, and the choice is stark. I want to thank you all so much for joining me for this explainer today. Keep learning, stay focused, and we'll see you next time as we continue to break down the most important topics shaping our world.